Hi guys, and here we are back again for the final round for week 3, the GAB versus fifth column round, and we've had our 5 minute marker there just a couple of seconds ago, so we are jumping straight back into it again. So this time around, GAB and fifth column are playing GAB with on TR, and fifth column playing NC. GAB with pretty standard roster there. Chris, Calipix, Best Assassin, Perturb, shoot, Pert-
Here we go. You can
Perturbo,
do it. One more
Perturbo,
time.
and Solus. Oh, yep, close enough. And fifth column have got Fappy, Spuddles, Roberth, Chili Philly, Rippling, and Slime Hunter. It's reasonable teams from both sides there.
Yeah, they're pretty much standard teams that these guys are putting up. A couple of debutants for Gab in Assassin and Perturbo, or you can just call him Peebo, so that the people on the stream don't get too drunk when you keep pronouncing it wrong.
Okay, I like that.
But, yeah, the fifth column guys are sort of sticking to their faithful six, I guess. I'm pretty sure that all of these guys have played in at least a match. Most of them have played in both of the matches that they've had, and definitely most of these guys were in the practice against Gab last night, so they're well aware and very familiar with the map that they're going into. And there really should be no excuse. They should have their tactics down. And as I said, the first round of the practice that we had last night, they only managed to lose to Gab by 5 points or something really close like that. So they're definitely showing that they can go toe to toe. That being said, the second round was a bit of a different story, and it was a bit of a blowout at that point. But if they can reproduce what they did in the first round against us and sort of upset a little bit of these guys, who definitely a couple of those Gab guys weren't there last night, so we'll see how they get their first map jitters out of the way.
Yeah, and as we've seen, Wokook is a very difficult sort of base to have to deal with. You've got that sort of that really compressed inner A point and the sort of open ground of the southern Sunder at the very least, which is definitely a challenge to try and deal with.
Yeah, it is. Sides will definitely play a factor in who scores the most points in which round, but not as much as what we've seen on some of the maps. It's not as bad, and we saw in that last round, even though Soka were down and against it, they didn't really get blown out too hard in the second round.
No, and so we've got Gab starting on the southern Sundra with fifth column on the northern Sundra there. So fifth column have got that slight advantage for the first round with the short sort of the long building, as I'm going to keep calling it. So we'll see how they go in that first round and how they deal with that. Was there anything in particular that they threw around in that practice match that sort of made a difference? Like, were they pulling different classes, or were they just working well together?
No, it's just working well together. They just got straight out played. To be honest, it was just a rough first round. There was no point capture from either team. It was just very close, real real contention on the point. It was flipping constantly, and then the Gab guys would get it, and then the fifth columns would come in and push them off. So it was just a straight out shoot basically. So they can do it. They just need to turn up and do it when it counts.
And here we have the fifth column guys all coming in. Looking reasonably standard there. Heavies, Infiltrator. Doesn't look like they've got a lot of salt at the moment. Obviously going for a sort of fast push onto the A point for that initial round.
Gab's sort of coming in slow. They've got four heavies, one infiltrator, and they have got Calipix and the light assault who's got up onto the roof of the L-shaped building, which was the center of attention, sort of for that last half of the game that we just saw. But they've not got to the point as fast. Actually, they have. Despite being a bit slow off, they've claimed the point.
The fifth column have taken a very long route around this time around. They've gone for a really smart flanking position for that first time around, losing two guys there pretty quickly.
They do manage to pick off Chris, but they lose their sniper at the same time, and then Rippling goes down on the point there.
Got Assassin there still on the point, and looks like that's been a pretty devastating wipe there for fifth column on that initial push. So GAB did get it. They definitely tried something different, and I just don't think they had enough people there on the point. Probably if they'd gone like 3 and 3 instead of just the 4 over there, and maybe they would have.
They are taking some pretty wide flanking routes here. They do get conked out. Perfect conk, whoever threw that one onto Rippling and Fappy. I think it was from that L-shaped building. So it'd be interesting to see now whether GAB pushes out and starts to claim some points, or whether they just wait for fifth column to come into them onto the point.
This is what we want to see from fifth column. That they know GAB have got a bit of a skill advantage on them, and so they need to flank in a few different positions. Try a few different things, and try and catch GAB off guard.
Yeah, definitely. They went 2 for 1 there, fifth column. They managed to get Chris, but then gave 2 kills over to Calipix and Assassin. So didn't work too well, but it was a good idea. It was definitely smart what they did. Chris got a bit aggressive and pushed up, which he's a bit want to do. He's definitely their frontline man. But yeah, it paid off for GAB in the end. He gave away his life for 2 kills for his teammates. And now fifth column gathering up in this L-shaped building, which is aggressive, but they need to get into that point.
Very interesting tactic there. They're pushing for that aggressive sort of hold on that L-shaped building there. We've got Spuddles here sort of out on the open trying to suppress the guys that are moving back in. So they're moving for that, suppressing the guys coming in from the Sundra, even though they don't actually hold the A point. So yeah, an interesting move from fifth column there.
Chris doing a bit of dancing on the point with wow, and he gets him. Chili Billy goes down to Chris there, and Chris comes up with a double kill on the point. Really good play. He was low health there, and he managed to flank around behind the fifth column push, pick up 3 kills on that whole fifth column push there. So really just completely disarmed them.
And I completely missed it.
Just stick with the guy with the play. Actually, don't stick with him. He just got raked. Oh, we do see Solace managed to push out and get a couple of shots on what is an invisible heavy for me, but managed to take him down. Oh, someone went down there. I missed that one. So they're starting to push around the back, the fifth column guys. They do have at least one guy with a shotgun. He's gone down, but he'll be coming back, I'd imagine, with that jackhammer still. So they're trying to get on that point. He wouldn't be having that shotgun in his hand if they weren't trying to make a play for that point.
Nice kill from Chili there on Best Assassin. Pushing it in a little bit more aggressively, and then getting flanked by Calipix from the looks of things as a light assault and going down.
You see Roberth is the man with the shotgun in his hand, but I don't know as he has actually. Probably will have enough time to get in on this point. He's going in through the back door though. Just waiting for backup, maybe. Now it's got Spuddles here with him, the invisible heavy. Oh.
Assassin there almost going down, but hopping back inside and...
Got 2 dead GAB men on the point, Chris and one other, but getting flanked by Solace and picking up a pistol kill there. And that's the cap over to GAB.
That's going to give them a good point advantage on fifth column here, which isn't going to help them at all. But,
no, it's not, but fifth column are doing well. Kills-wise,
yeah, they're not doing too badly. Yeah.
And that's what they need. Seeing the performance that Soka put in, I think they really need to try and get some points on the board as opposed to the Soka tactic. They just need to stay aggressive and just keep playing their own game.
A little bit more aggressive play from GAB now. They're sort of a little bit more everywhere, basically. It's just slowly creeping closer and closer to the open ground of the Sundra for the fifth column guys.
Yeah, starting to suffocate them a little bit, which is smart, but they don't want to give up that point control too easily. They've kept a couple of guys down within striking range of that point though, so they've still got control over it. We see Chris getting aggressive and taking down Fappy and one other outside the point. He's got a double kill for free.
Took a few too many shots, unfortunately. Then going down yourself. That was Roberth, I think. He snuck up on an infiltrator and then completely missed him with the shotgun a couple of times there.
Chris doing pretty well at this point. He's got a decimator kill coming across from Rippling, I believe, there. But Chris is doing pretty well. He's kept his score high and he hasn't been dying too much, and he's been getting a lot of double and triple kills, so he's been doing a bit of work. But so is Solace and also Calipix, who's in that light assault role. He's not really played a front role, like you haven't seen him, but he's just been in the back lines constantly killing people.
Yeah, again, one of the things to think about this week, being the mirror matches, the guys are not as used to the weapons as they would be if they were playing on their own faction. Plus, they've still got to deal with the lag and that sort of situation from playing on Jaeger as well, which is the worst sort of circumstance for Australians, it seems, for server quality.
Yeah, it's pretty painful. These guys will start getting used to the lag, I guess, and it sort of goes away with a week of playing live, and then you come back for one night a week to play on Jaeger, but you do fall into your habit a lot quicker with each week, so they'll be getting, I guess, more comfortable with the ping, but I'd give it to the GAB guys for having a bit more comfortable weaponry, not least because I know for a fact that a lot of those guys play across all three factions, but the MSWR is basically a carbon copy of the Orion, and everyone knows GAB's weapon of choice is the Orion, so they've got a pretty easy transition in that gun.
Yeah.
You see Chris starting to get punished a little bit for his aggressive plays. I've seen him go down twice now without getting a kill. One of them was cleaned up by Solace, but starting to push out and just keep the pressure on them. But something that they need to do, they're pretty much just doing exactly what Jugger did to Soka in that last match.
They're just not having a lot of luck, unfortunately. It seems every time I catch up on like someone from fifth column pushing in somewhere, they're just about to get killed by a GAB guy.
Yeah, they've definitely done a bit of work in figuring out which angles they need to cover, where the likely spots that fifth column are going to be pushing from, and consequently where they need to be standing to stop that. So they've done pretty well, I think, in preparing for it. We see Calipix just locking down that L-shaped building out the back. No one's got in that L-shaped building without being met with an absolute brick that is Calipix at the moment. Oh, managing to trade with the heavy there. Really good play.
Rippling
and that's
there,
the thing.
Dodging one infiltrator and then getting taken down by a rocket on the other side.
Yes, it's not football. You don't have to catch that one.
This is, I think, where column seems to be struggling a little bit. They seem to be falling back into the same sort of, like they're trying to flank, but they're flanking one person at a time. There isn't much in the way of like group pushes or anything like that. We do
right. It's very disjointed
together now. But yeah, so they're really struggling to, like, the flanking in that territory stuff is good, but they need to show a little bit more of the group work that Soka was showing early in the match before it all fell apart for them.
Yeah, absolutely. They're just disjointed. They're not going in. They can't flank around the long side with that L-shaped building because they know the Calipix is there as a light assault, and they can't see him, so that makes it even worse. You're just constantly thinking, can he see me, but I can't see him. The bridge is camped by Solace at the moment, so the opposite side where they can get around through the back has also got Chris standing there in the rocks just being a menace. There's absolutely nowhere they can go except for that long building and just stand there and wait for their impending death, really. It's pretty good lockdown by GAB, but short of going across the walkway like we saw Soka do towards the end of their second round, I don't see a clear opening for them to try and push onto that point. Not that they would want to at this point, with the time being what it is, but just to get some more points on the board. There's no free points anywhere, really.
No, yeah, well that's it. Is that whole sort of central area. It seems anytime anyone from fifth column gets anywhere near this sort of this central tree, they're being shot at by 2 or 3 different angles. It's a decimator from the east, or it's a sniper from the south, or it's you know, an SMG or something or other from, or LMG from the southwest. It's just definitely a bit of a struggle for them, even just to pick off kills, you know, here and there to boost their score up, because the fact that anytime they sort of get into a position where they might be able to fire at someone, there's 2 or 3 people firing back at them.
Yeah, there is. We see one man make it into the L-shaped building. Chris just comes legging it all the way across from the other side of the map to clean that one up. So they're, but again, that was a one-man push from FCLM. There was no backup. There was no additional men. It's like, okay, guys, I've secured the L-shaped building. Finally, after 5 minutes of us trying, please help. No one was there.
Saw a little bit of that from George from Soka as well. A lot of those, you know, pushing into the A point, he just charged for the A point and get in there, but then all of a sudden there wasn't anyone to support him, and he come up against 1 or 2 guys who knew where he was, and it just ends up going down.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of these guys and a lot of the teams that are towards the bottom, still, all of them are extremely good players. Their team performance and overall is not indicative of each individual player's skill. There's still guys that are used to walking into rooms, seeing a couple of guys there and being able to confidently be able to take down at least one of them, or probably both of them. Moving into this kind of thing, you just can't do that. There's too many good gunners on the other side that you're just not going to be able to do what you normally do on live, and that's a hard habit to break. It requires you to more be reliant on the other 5 guys around you, and FCLM just don't seem to be able to get that locked down. With the 6 guys they have, though, if they can do that, they'll be a lot stronger than what they're showing here.
Yeah, and we've said that with the Farmers League before, is like a certain amount of this is skill, and a certain amount of it is teamwork. You've only got 6 guys. You're only coming up against another 6 guys, but you're coming up against some of the best guys that are on the live server. You're not coming up against, you know, Battle Rank 1 new spawns that are running around having no idea how to pull the trigger. These are the guys that know the ins and outs of every single weapon, you know, the corners and the angles and the exploits for the game, you know, wall jumping and all that sort of stuff. And these are the challenging players you come up against.
Yeah, exactly. These are the guys that they'll maybe go 1-for-1 with on live if they're lucky. Each of them, you know, it's whoever gets the drop. But when you both know where the other man's coming from, there's no real opportunity to try and make a play just based on your position or anything like that. They know where you're coming from and you know where they are, and it's just going to be outshoot or outplay. And we just see Chris there taking down 2 guys, and they seem to be just not able to put that teamwork together. Their skill level is there, definitely, on all 6 of those guys. They can play well,
Yeah,
but they just can't get it together.
Bit disappointing there from Roberth. Chris came around and Roberth had the flank on him and let off a couple, like 1 or 2 shots, and gave away his position to Chris, who then turned around, and then he came up against him and, at least on my screen, didn't seem to fire at all. I don't know whether he was stuck in a reload or something like that, but yeah, Chris just mowed him down basically.
Yeah, we see Best Assassin has also pulled a sniper, so we got 2 snipers at the moment. One of them's dead. Best Assassin got a bit aggressive and got wiped out.
Taking Chris down there.
So we got 2 snipers for GAB at the moment, so doing what Soka did, but in the other side, on the aggressive side, on the side that's winning, they're pulling 2 snipers.
Interesting play there, because obviously the Infiltrator doesn't have the, like, coming up against a heavy medium range. And oh, there's our halftime. I didn't even notice it.
Snuck up.
Snuck up on us, yep. Rightio. So having a quick look at the scores there. GAB with 171 to 5th column 62 there. 5th column getting, I think, a better score than what Soka did in their first round, but GAB's definitely got a much higher score as well to counter that. Good kills there from most of the GAB teams there. It's got 10 plus sort of kills, other than Assassin and Pivo. Chris there with 17 kills as you'd expect. Same with Solace there as well. Good to see. I think Solace, he was running the Infiltrator, so definitely that long range helped in that sort of situation there. He didn't have too many deaths. Spuddles there for fifth column coming out with a net score of 0, which is definitely good. 9 kills and 9 deaths. That's definitely good to see. And Robert there having a bit of trouble, as we saw during the actual round. Slime Hunter not getting a lot of kills. The fifth column guys just really struggling to just keep up with the GAB guys, unfortunately.
They did, and you see sort of the scores that you would expect from a few of them. Spuddles did extremely well for mine. That's a really standout performance in a team that was getting sort of pushed around pretty hard, but he is, for mine, probably their best gunner and best heavy player, so you'd expect that. But the most important thing to take away from this at the moment is the fact that Assassin is beating Best Assassin. And if that happens, we are definitely going to do everything we can to make sure that those two guys swap accounts, because that's just not on. If Best Assassin is not the Best Assassin, we are not about false advertising in GAB, and that account's going to need to get handed over.
Yeah, we're going to need to do some swapping around.
Exactly. But aside from that, Solace, man, that's a really big score from him. Peebo sort of coming down the bottom there, but it's his first game as well, and he did definitely do his job. Himself and Assassin probably just sitting in that role where they were pushing up. Chris did well for the amount of aggressive plays that he was making, but picking up 17 kills for his efforts, that can go one of two ways. You can either push out and get a kill and then quickly recover, get your shields back up and run out, or you can push out and just go 1 for 1 every single time if you're lucky. So he got the better end of it that time, and these aggressive plays paid off and probably paved the way for some of those guys like Solace to just sit back and pick off a few freer kills, because there was at least one time that I saw Chris went into the long building doorway, started shooting at a man, went down to that man, but then Solace just fired over the top of Chris's body and picked off the half-health target. So sort of working as a team that way, and that's your heavies sort of paving the way for your guys at the back to just clean up those kills.
Yeah, and it's very indicative of what we've seen so far in previous rounds as well. Those matches where you've got a really good, solid team. If the infiltrator is sitting in the right sort of spots, they can really end up coming out with, in a lot of times, better scores than some of the heavies and whatnot coming up in the one-to-one situations. Just playing it smart, basically.
Yeah, definitely. And we want to see, I mean, we saw Best Assassin flick out into the other second infiltrator role there, which is something he was sort of joking around with yesterday. I think it was sort of given permission if the score was going how GAB wanted it to. So we'll see if he does that one again, because he does do well, and he does enjoy playing a bit of close quarters sniper role. We've got a minute to go. We've just got FCLM actually let their Sunder a despawn, I think, so they had to pull another one. They've done that.
Wondering why it was taking up so long to get another Sunder up and running.
Yeah, I think their base is on the wrong side, and they might not have Gate Shield Diffuser on this one, which you have no excuse. You have 5 million certs. Everything should be certed and swagged right out.
Interesting there. They've got the radar on it. I don't know whether or not that would actually be any use to them at all.
No, I wouldn't think so. The range on that won't be enough to get outside of the exclusion zone, so it's really only going to tell you if, say, GAB is breaking the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think it would give them any benefit. I haven't even seen that before on live, to be honest.
Called Chopper Sundra, as I like to think of them.
But we got 4 heavies again from GAB, as well as the 1 infiltrator and light assault. So same comp as last time.
Pretty standard composition from fifth column as well. The 1 light assault, 1 infiltrator, and 4 heavies. Light assault coming straight up onto the roof of that L-shaped building.
That is Spuddles, so it's their best heavy player. I haven't seen him play light assault too much this season, so I'm interested to see how he goes against someone like Calipix, who's really proved himself sort of time and time again, but he's a great shot. So I would imagine that his skills should translate.
That
was about to have a duel.
Solace going down there. It was either Solace or Chili Philly going down inside the A point there to a couple of guys on the A. It looks like fifth column have really sort of didn't focus at all on that A point and went straight for the L-shaped building. They're trying to build up some kind of defensive area that they can hold on to. I guess they know that that open ground is a problem for them if GAB sort of get the upper hand on them, and so they're just trying to hold on to somewhere that they can defend.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe use that as a staging point and just deny that building from GAB for as long as they can. But I don't think GAB's going to prioritise that until they secure the point capture, because once they have that, they've got their 25 points. That's what they came for. But maybe they do. Maybe they do push out and
They
secure
are
it.
pushing in a little bit. Best Assassin's moved in, and so has Solace. And fifth column seems to be nowhere to be seen in here all of a sudden.
Okay, might have wiped them out
down
pretty
there.
effectively. Got 3 guys from 5th column pushing back into this L-shaped building with 1 more lagging behind, so at least 4 of them have gone down recently. Just respawned back in. And I hear a mini chain gun somewhere.
Yeah, someone's got a mini chain gun.
I bet you that's Chris. $5, it's Chris. It's Chris. And he does work, gets rippling. God. For shame. And he's pretty much just going to point that thing at a doorway and just left click, because that's all you do with it.
Yeah, interesting choice to go for that there. I remember through some of the practice rounds and stuff like that, talk to the Soka guys, and it was interesting looking at some of the higher DPS weapons on Jaeger here, like the Armistice and the mini chain gun and stuff like that. It seemed like a lot of the shots weren't hitting, so it seemed to be once you got past that sort of the Cyclone level, like DPS speed, all of a sudden you were losing a lot of shots and it just wasn't worth it. So it's interesting that Chris has actually got that and it's working in his favour.
Yeah, I mean, so far, and he's sort of taken the engagements where it's worked in the effective range of that weapon. I mean, it's got to be pretty close. It does bloom out pretty hard and pretty fast. So as long as you're in a close range and you've got relatively good aim, you just keep a bead on a man's head and it's going to hit him somewhere. Oh, you see Calipix just being a menace. Is he going to go down? Yes, he does go down. A bit of a long-range shot there. But he managed to pick off 2 people before he went down, so he did his work.
Not really a concerted push from 5th column to take the A point at all. They're sort of moving a little bit for this L-shaped building and just trying to sort of defend there where they can, but just not pushing in at all, basically.
No, they're not. I'd like to see them full of max at this point and just try something to get in there. As we see, Best Assassin picks off Roberts, so they're already a man down. Pert picks off Rippling. It's yeah, already looking a bit tough for the prospect of these guys getting in onto the point. They get 2 more kills back, and Calipix doesn't manage to pick off that man in the L-shaped building, but it's cleaned up by Best Assassin. Ooh, and he himself goes down though to a commissioner kill.
And Calipix goes down there too.
They're back and forth.
And Chili Philly there, yeah.
Chris just still being noisy in the background. He did just get a kill there, so he's still doing work with the chain gun. I guess you've got 2 options. You either pull the shotgun or the chain gun. Chain gun gives you at least a little bit more range, and it definitely sounds cooler. And there goes the capture to GAB.
Pretty much uncontested there from 5th column. Didn't seem to really bother with it at all. I think even the initial pushing onto the A point, I think they really only sent 1 person in there. And that was it. They just decided that they weren't going to be able to hold on to the A point and are just really focusing on this L-shaped building.
Yeah, well, they've got a little bit of control of the interior, but they can't make use of that because Calipix is still up on the top and they haven't had an answer for him. We saw, I think it was, Spuddles had a fight with him right at the start and went down to him, so that's the only duel that I've seen between the 2 light assaults, and Calipix has sort of just been running rampant around this building the whole time, not giving them full control, despite the fact that they completely control the inside. That's 1 man locking down sort of 4 or 5 people from FCLM. And we see GAB push in and knock out the FCLM guys holding that L-shaped building.
Yeah, pretty much.
They're almost. And I wonder if it is a tactic. I don't think it is, but I would think a good tactic could be to just allow FCLM to push into that L-shaped building. Once they are, move out as a team and then re-secure it, knowing that you're going to get. You should come out ahead in kills.
Yeah, they could also go for that more aggressive approach and try and hold fifth column back at the Sundra, which appears to be slowly what they're creeping towards. But interesting play there from Peebo there up on the sort of halfway point of the building. Yeah,
bit of a wall jump there. See Assassin taking a few pot shots at the guys behind the rocks before they can sort of get out into the covered ground, but they do. They've just lobbed in a conch grenade to try and reposition. But they're really stuck at the moment, FCLM, behind these rocks, and that's what we wanted to see.
Yeah, and this is the situation they really didn't want to be in, was being stuck in the open like this, in and out of cover, and just having to try and deal with all of the GAB guys firing at them from different points in that L-shaped building. I'm guessing that was the tactic they were going for by trying to keep a hold of it, was to just deny them that sort of, if they held that L-shaped building, they sort of didn't have to worry too much about the open ground, but they've just fallen into that trap anyway.
They haven't. It's a hard one to avoid. And you've sort of lost the first round. You were outshot as well as losing the point, so you didn't probably have too much hope of coming out and holding that L-shaped building, but probably the right tactic, just giving it away, and now just trying to get as many kills as they possibly can on the board to try and maximise their own score.
Tropics there, sniping all the way from over at the vehicle spawn on the fifth column guys. Really need to get their infiltrator to focus on taking him down, because he's basically just sort of shooting them and giving them half the sort of cover that they should have had. Look, he's over there, shoot him.
See Perturbo picking up a couple of kills there, just sort of back and forth. He's up on the balcony, just harassing them down at the moment. I think Calopix might either be down or possibly redeployed for more ammunition. So he's sort of taking that role of just peeking and trying to deny them the ability to come in, take a few rocket shots. Ooh, he does land that, I think, but Overshield saving the man there.
Not really clear what the fifth column play is here at the moment. I think it's just they're just trying to stay alive a little bit and trying to get a few kills where they can.
I think that's a tactic, and it needs to be at this point. You're not going to capture the point. I think they've come to terms with that, and they're well aware that they're probably just going to get outshot either way, but they just want to put some points on the board, and they need to. There's no sort of points for second place in this, but the one silver lining that you can have is that you can maximize your score in a loss, and they've definitely done that. They've already outscored the Soka score from last time, and there's still 5 minutes left in this match.
Yes, no, that's definitely true. They have ended up with a higher score in the long run, although GAB are sort of very quickly creeping up their own score against them, so pride-wise, it's a bit of a struggle, but they probably went into this knowing that there was going to, at the very least, be either very, very close or a very big challenge. So,
and still just constantly pushing up is the GAB team. We've got Best Assassin. Ooh, we got a little bit too aggressive there and got taken down, but then they traded one back. Solace looks like he's over by this vehicle spawn and just shooting down. So this is where I thought Daitoku was hiding last time, and it looks like Solace is actually there and picking up a few kills up on top of the rocks, but they've spotted him.
and at this point they need to try something different. They're very well and truly stuck in this out in the open sort of situation here. We've got one or two guys here trying to fire rockets, which aren't going to get you anything in the way of points. So it's just trying to sort of give them a little bit of an opening, really.
Yeah, it is, and they don't really need that opening at this point. They just need to be getting points. And I did tell a lie. It was Calipix over on these rocks who's sniping. So they've gone to 2 snipers at the moment, and their Solace is swapped out. So instead of putting Best Assassin in, they've subbed their Light Assault in favour of a second Infiltrator. But yeah, wherever the FCLM guys go, wherever they seem to try and flank around, someone from GAB is there and waiting and punish them.
Very much the same sort of thing as we saw with the Jugger guys in the first round against Soka as well. Same sort of thing. Soka would just sort of up against the wall and Jugger were everywhere and nowhere.
I mean, just to see how hard they've been pushed back, they're now trying to move around this rock, which is a really, really long way to walk, and it's a terrible, terrible angle to get out of. We're going to see, I think, all of these guys here just get absolutely crushed in a second.
Now, at the very least, they are trying something different. They're trying to flank from a different angle. They do have a little bit of cover around here with the trees, and like they're basically firing on them from slightly different angles, but whether or not it's going to make that much of a difference,
and they're not making use of it, but it's very easy to splash around the back of that tree from the balcony. So they don't have the numbers on the balcony that they probably need to do that, GAB, but they're still pinning them in there. They can't leave that tree line. Rippling walked out. So one guy I saw walk out as
nice
an
kill there
infiltrator
from
and he got killed. Well, Rippling manages to take down Best Assassin there with a sniper shot. So they are making inroads. Despite my naysaying, they've got around there. They've moved out from that tree and they're about to get into that L-shaped building from behind. Chris goes down there to Roberth. And Assassin closes out Spuddles behind the container there.
Yep.
So we can see in the scores, Best Assassin's definitely outscoring Assassin, but has he made his points count? Is his net score high enough? We will see. So Chris seems to have put away the chain gun for the moment, so he's had his fun. Gone back to an MSWR or a carve on his heavy.
That probably makes a certain amount of sense now. Like they're not in, like the chain gun's going to be a little bit more medium to close range, and that's just not the situation he's going to be in most of the time now. The 5th column guys are struggling to get up to that L-shaped building, and so you need something that's a little bit more long range, which is where the MSWR is a little bit more effective in comparison.
Yeah, he's got to go on full circle. He's gone to the carve actually. He just picked off Roberth there. So he's gone with the real long range, but still got the capacity to be a bit of a suppression tool. And he actually gets an ML7 kill on Chili Pilly.
Yeah,
put a
nice
bit of
little
bullets
rocket
into
kill
him.
there.
So that's how we see you splash around that tree. You don't have to hit them. You just got to hit behind them, and they're going to get enough damage. Chris took him down. Chris again, just lobbing rockets around this corner. They've had a little bit of success coming around here, but if that EMP had gone off a second before, there we go.
And there we go. That's it all over. And so, flicking over to the scores for a bit of a look. So GAB obviously coming out with a win there with 329 to 5th column's 107. Chris putting up a... alright net score there. He got a lot of kills, but his net score's down at 19. I don't know what happened there. I guess he had a fair few deaths as well in comparison to Calipix, who ended up with 29 kills to 8 deaths there, and a very good net score of 42. Solus there as well, net score of 40, 26 kills to only 6 deaths. Very nice showing from the GAB team there. Spuddles there not doing as well in the second round there, taking a few more deaths, ending up with a -8 down from his 0 score there, but still definitely when you're on that sort of the losing end, there's a reasonable score as a comparison. Roberts definitely having a bad round this time around, that's for sure, with 28 deaths, only 4 kills. And I think that was seen a lot of the time in the stream, just having a bit of a struggle there. A lot of times coming up against two guys at once or getting flanked at the wrong moment.
Yeah, not too much to take out of that FCLM scoreline. I mean, they did put a decent enough, I think, score on the board. They were 100 points with 5 minutes to go. Sorry, so in that last 5 minutes, they only managed to put 7 points up, and that hurt them a little bit. That's a third of a round, and they've only managed to put up sort of 8% of their entire match score. It's not the best, but I mean, they did okay. Spuddles did very well. Still, that entire second round was really dominant from GAB. Again, the FCLM guys didn't even get in on the point, so not much more you can expect from them. Fortunately for Best Assassin, he keeps his name, picking up the win over Assassin there, which is very disappointing. But Solus did well as well, 26 kills for 6 deaths, and Calipix, again, putting up a huge scoreline. And what we're seeing with Chris's score, obviously, 13 more kills than deaths, is that he does like to use the rocket a fair bit, get any points for the rocket kills. So, it sort of cuts his effective score in half. It could be a lot higher than that. With 13, he should be looking at a positive 26. So he lost 7 points there, either from rocket or frag kills, which will pick him up 1 point. So, but still killing them and putting them down, and that's his job. He is their anchor. He is the one that's up the front. He's always got to be shooting. He's always just killing people, and then presenting a soft target for what he feels is a bunch of better shooters behind him, and they all showed up. The guys that needed to get kills did. Solus did. Calipix did, and Best Assassin both putting up really good scores there.
Yeah. So 2 reasonably predictable rounds there from both teams. We saw a little bit of unusual, different tactics there, but not anything humongously out of the box. Just slight changes. Pushing in a different directions, trying different class loadouts. Just something to be a little bit more effective. But yeah, unfortunately, a certain amount of it does just come down to the skill of the individuals and the team as a whole. And that was really what both Fifth Column and Soka were fighting tonight in GAB and Jugger, being 2 of the top outfits on the whole server. So yeah, there's really not much else to say there, but definitely a good job from both of those teams there, holding up their end. Sort of, they could have easily come out with very little score at all and just been romped over and over, but yeah, they did all right.
Absolutely, turned up and competed and fought a very hard match and went predictably, but but at the same time, like I said, some good tactical changes with positional plays from FCLM that were a bit different and outside the box and kind of worked a little bit. Same with Soka, they had some positional plays, they had some composition plays where they changed up, pulled 1 max, it worked very well, pulled 2 max, didn't work quite as well, but still just mixing it up, just throwing it out there, just giving it a shot, and that's what you need to do in this kind of a game.
Yep. So we should have that's the end of week 3. That's all our mirror matches over and done with. So we won't have to deal with that anymore. Everyone gets to go back to their own faction. And we have up next week 4. We've got a nice round to start off the week there. GAB versus RSNC.
Yeah, that'll be a good one, that one, I think. And important to note that after this week, every team has the opportunity to sub in additional players. So players that either may have not been turning up for games or not performing as well when they have played, or for whatever reason they feel, they can swap out players and bring in some fresh blood. So double-edged sword when they do that, because you can bring in someone that you feel is a better player, but at the same time they've got probably limited to none experience playing in this sort of game. So this game could be shaken up by a few subs. I won't speculate on who's coming in or who's coming out, but I'd like to see, I know I have my list of subs that I would like to see from both teams bringing in and getting them some game time and seeing how it goes. So it could be a really, really close match, and this one could shake up the top of the table as well.
Yeah, and there's been a bit of an expectation, of, like almost right from the get go, that there was going to be a few people subbed in, and I know that there's a few from some teams that either haven't been able to show up or ended up getting stuck helping Adam cast and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you were one of the Gab guys, weren't you,
No,
Spat?
mate, I won't admit it again, but I'm here by choice. I played
Ah,
like crap in a few practices, and yeah, I think it's much easier to poke fun at the Gab guys when they make mistakes than have someone else sort of sit here and do it to me. So yeah, purely vanity,
oh yeah,
purely vanity.
it is a good bit of fun getting to sit around and talk about them as they fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so a few, definitely an interesting round coming up for next Tuesday. So we'll catch you guys for that one, I guess. I've been Adam Fox, the unoriginal name gamer, here with Spadge from Gap, and this is the Briggs Farmers League. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, guys. See you Tuesday.